Belize, welcome back to the weekly download, where headlines meet hot takes and the group chat stays busy. This week, Belize really said policy first, explanation later, and the public said try again. So grab your tea, grab your opinion, and maybe grab a little patience too, because we have a lot to get into. Let the download commence. In Belize, two recent controversies are giving very much better for ask for forgiveness than permission energy, and people are not here for it. On one hand, you've got the proposed relocation of the Keycocker police station, where residents were basically like, wait, you're selling what? And moving where? Because apparently the village council wasn't properly looped in. At the center of it all, the officials in charge admitted that there were communication gaps. And honestly, that's the real issue. Because when people only find out about policies after they're already happening, trust starts to drop faster than Wi Fi during a storm. At the end of the day, transparency does not want bonus. It's the necessary system. And if people don't feel consulted, even the best ideas can get dragged in the group chat. China is about to experience what they're calling a great wealth transfer, which sounds inspiring until you realize it's basically rich parents passing down money to even richer kids. We're talking about trillions of dollars being inherited. No inheritance tax, no major checks, just vibes and generational privilege. It's giving if your dad didn't struggle, why should you? And now young people over there are saying things like birth determines destiny and lying flat, which is basically the Chinese version of I don't try, I tired. But let's not act brand new because low key, Louisians understand this too. Some people start life with land, business, connections, and others start with good luck and God bless. The real issue isn't just money, it's opportunity. Because when wealth keeps recycling at the top, the rest of us are out here playing a game where some people started on level 10 and you're still trying to find the tutorial. So, yeah, China may be becoming an inherited society, but honestly, the group chat says the update is already installed worldwide. When you look at the public reaction to the new birth control prescription policy in Belize, what stands out isn't just disagreement, it's perspective. And when you break down the online conversations, three key arguments basically capture the national mood. The first is what we call the system not ready argument. And honestly, this one is the most grounded because while the policy may make sense on paper, people are pointing out the reality on ground. Rural communities still face limited access to healthcare. Some areas don't even have nearby clinics, and many already struggle with transportation costs, long wait times, and basic administrative confusion. So, for a lot of people, this feels like a policy being introduced into a system that hasn't fully caught up yet. Are clinics ready for the new wave of patients? What about the pharmacies that consistently run out of some brands? Then there's a second major concern, the cost of living factor. And this is where the conversation moves beyond healthcare and into everyday survival. Because people are already dealing with rising gas prices, higher food costs, and electricity bills. Everything feels like it's going up at once. So when this policy adds another layer, it doesn't feel isolated. It feels like pressure stacking on pressure. NHI doesn't count some of these birth controls and it can cost that pretty penny. And I think we have to be honest here because in real life, this looks different. A young woman may now have to miss a full day of work just to access a clinic, wait for a consultation, and get a prescription. In a context where even one day without pay can shift your entire week, the question becomes, where's the support system that counts for that reality? Should that day be counted as sick leave? Should there be more flexible access points? These are the gaps people are pointing to. And finally, the clearest framing comes from the access barrier perspective being discussed online. Even if the intention behind the policy is better regulation or safer use, the outcome many people are seeing is that it becomes harder to access something they already struggled to access in the first place. And that impact is uneven. It hits harder for young women, low income households, and rural communities, where even transport alone can be a challenge. From an urban or middle class perspective, it might look manageable, but from a rural lens, where a clinic visit can mean planning transport, time, and money all at once, even small changes become significant barriers. And that's where the disconnect is emerging between policy design and lived experience. So, when you take a step back, all three perspectives are pointing to the same core issue, which is whether the system is strong enough, fair enough, and accessible enough to actually support the policies being introduced into it. And the public message isn't necessarily no, it's don't just design the policy, make sure the system can actually carry it. What do you think, besties? Drop it in the comments below. Well, besties, that's a download this week. A lot to unpack, a lot to question, and clearly a lot that still needs to be explained. Whether we're talking about policies, prices, or power, one thing remains true. People don't just want decisions, they want to be a part of them. So, as always, stay informed, stay local, and maybe double check before you launch anything without telling the parties affected first. Join us next week, where we will be breaking down the bus crisis and much more. Until then, download complete.